Welcome to People's Church Podcast.
The Christian faith has never been meant to be condemnation. It's been meant to be liberation. And when we understand the gospel message, we understand that it's starting at a point where we need redemption. Because there's not one of these commands that you have not broken. And you say, hold it, the one today I've not broken. It's the shortest one out of all of the commands. It just says, you shall not murder. And you say, honest, I have not murdered anybody. Felt like it, wanted to, almost planned it, but I've not done it. Well, the commands can't be understood in their entirety just from the book of Exodus and the Old Testament account. In fact, Jesus took the commands and he actually took them to the inner world. And we're going to see that today. But if you are a Christian, you've been redeemed from the breakage of commands, whether they be external or internal. It's the most incredible thing, the grace of God, a clean slate. You've been redeemed. How is that possible? How is that even possible? And if you think this is unusual, Moses himself was a murderer. He killed an Egyptian who was a taskmaster. And then later God calls him to lead the nation of Israel into liberation from Egypt and into their own land. Murderer. David, King David, murderer. And yet his throne is the throne and the line through whom Jesus Christ the Messiah has come. Paul the apostle called himself a murderer through the persecutions that he applied to the Christian church as it was emerging, until he himself was knocked off his horse by Jesus. And the price he paid was that Jesus took him to the most, can we say, trying missions in the world at that time. But he was a murderer. Oh, you'll find this throughout the scriptures, that God calls people that have done things that you say you've not done. But we'll talk about that. And he makes this incredible redemption. And doesn't just redeem them to go to heaven. He redeems them for the work here on this planet, in their families, in their communities, in the world that God puts them in. God is all about redemption. You're probably got areas of your life, if we were able to probe it in a conversation over a coffee, that you would say, yeah, I don't believe that can be redeemed. I think it was just so bad. Well, you need to understand redemption. And you need to understand the grace of Almighty God when it comes to these things. But your starting point in understanding grace is to understand law. And that it isn't just even in the external world. He probes far deeper on these commands. And he goes into the heart. And he says, actually, this is the same as if you actually pulled the trigger. There's no difference. And Jesus is phenomenal at doing that. And the reason that he's doing that is because he wants you to know your condition, and that if you try to play the innocence game, you lose every time. I'm innocent. I never did that. That's what one young rich guy said to Jesus. And then Jesus just internalized the command. First he gave him the external, and then he goes to the internal towards God. And he says, you go sell everything you got, give it away. And then you can come follow me, come follow me. The rich guy, young guy, he couldn't do it. It says he walked away sad because in his heart he was already breaking every one of those commands that he thought he had innocence from. You might be thinking that you're in innocence here today. With this command, I'm innocent. I've never pulled a trigger. I've never wielded a knife. I've never done anything like this. Innocence is a very dangerous thing because it will fall, and when you believe that you're still innocent, you're in a dire situation. You don't know what the root of the issue is. Adam and Eve were innocent. They weren't righteous. There's a difference between those two words. Innocence is the condition that you've never actually, done something. More than likely, you've never had the opportunity. They were created in innocence. And then their will was given very clear, can we say, markers of right and wrong. Everything in this garden is yours, except this one tree. Just one. Why one tree? Well, the will. The will has to be something that is exercised. It's under your free will to do so, and God had given them that, and so there was a choice to be made. And that choice would have to be made every day. To retain innocence. And innocence is something that breaks down very quickly. Very quickly. How many here have a baby that's still an infant? Enjoy the innocence. That will change. And then what's going to happen is as they grow, their free will is going to exercise things that are very, very hurtful and damaging, and it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt people. It'll hurt themselves. And when they hurt themselves, that's worse than when they hurt you. Innocence dies on the vine quickly. So what does that leave us with? Well, redeemed, redemption. Which buys you back to what? Buys you back to the perfect state with God. Through righteousness, which is a gift. Jesus' blood and body given up for us. To wash our slates clean, to wash our sin away. Not in a way like innocence where it can fall. This righteousness is endurable, it's permanent, it will never fail you because it's not you. It's Him. It's who He is. His Spirit comes to reside in the heart of anyone that puts their faith and trust in Him. And in that endurable righteousness, you're going to have many days where you're still in a very big growth, pattern. You've got a long ways to go, and you're going to still make mistakes, and you're still going to break these commands, but what's the difference? Paul put it this way. He said, I am what I am by the grace of God. Now, grace is the thing that actually produces for you a daily expression of righteousness that can't be shattered, can't be broken, because it's Jesus. And sometimes we do the best we can to shatter it and to break it. We ignore what we know is true about that tree. And thereby, our growth patterns are often very slow or stalled out, but I want to encourage you today. Don't try and live in innocence. Trust the righteousness. And as we talk about thou shalt not murder, may it be something in you that you start to see, there's no innocence here. Innocence has been long shattered. So as we talk about this today, have an open heart. Exodus 20 verse 13, it says simply this, you shall not murder. It's an interesting short little phrase, and some of you might be thinking, well, that means a short message. I could name you, but I won't. The Hebrew word for it is ratzak. And ratzak is just a word that simply means murder, not kill. There's a difference. This is not about you in a war. This is not about you defending yourself. This is about you because of this, can we say, hateful spirit taking another life, but in different ways. This is murder. It has not got any righteousness to it. It is just simply the taking of that life. Let's talk first about anger's weaknesses. Jesus said this. Here's what He did with this command. So He takes these commands. It's interesting. And you see the direction He goes with it. Matthew 5, 21, 22, Jesus said, you have heard it said long ago. He's talking about the 10 commandments. Do not murder. Didn't you see that next word? But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Well, that's got to be a notch up the ladder. All of a sudden, innocence is far harder to attain, isn't it? Anybody here ever been angry with a brother? Don't raise your hands, all right? But this anger is a little different. It's not just I'm a little miffed at you or I'm angry with you about something that we're struggling over. This is getting into an anger that other words have to be brought. And Jesus, in the teaching of Matthew 5, 21 on, you can read it for your own. There's a couple things he talks about to explain what that looks like. He says the word raka, which is an Aramaic kind of curse word. He's saying, don't you ever say raka to somebody. Don't you curse them. What is he talking about? He's talking about this kind of, it's an Aramaic insult. And it's like saying you're just a brainless, stupid fellow. You are somebody that is just contemptible. I spit on you. You have no value. If you're doing that to your brother, you're committing murder. That's an interesting thought. So he drives it to the inside. And he says, here's how you can practice this. And this reveals to you actually what murder is. It starts within the heart. And he's saying in the heart, this is where things are all going to begin and end up. Obviously in your practice. He brings another one in and he says, anyone who says you fool will be in danger of hell's fire, or the fires of hell. Now, he's not talking about IQ when he's using the word fool. If you're measuring IQ, there can be sort of, I guess, maybe that kind of thing. But this is more, again, you're junk. You are positively worthless. You don't really deserve to breathe or to die. It's just something that you are taking all value away. They have no self-worth, so you just destroy somebody else's self-worth and you're taking them and saying, you have no worth and no value. We know that happens within homes and all kinds of relationships and even between parent and child. And we understand that takes place. And I want to tell you that he is saying you are so far from God that you are basically, right on the fires of hell. You're bringing hell into your family. You're bringing hell into your life. You're bringing hell into your relationship. You see, that's strong words. It's his words. Do you know why he talks to us about this? Because he wants you, yes, to be redeemed. And you need to know that you need Christ. Quit trying to be innocent and hide away from what you know is truly here. Instead, he's saying, I want you to pay attention to what is here, but in a redeemed state, that you are now in righteousness. And so when you look at your failures, you look at them through the blood of Christ and you say, yes, I'm forgiven. But now I want to grow and change these practices. And if I'm going to do that, it starts here. The truth is on this, it's just as evil to destroy someone's self-worth as it is to murder them. That's what that teaching's about. To take them and take worth away and value. And that happens. It's not unusual. Even if it's for just a season, even if it's just even for a day. The moment your heart is allowed to go into that and evaluating somebody else, you are in the idea of murder. Roka. It's something that's not so easy to accept. We want to stay in innocence. We want to say, I've never done it. I would say be careful of your evaluation, because your evaluation is the beginning of real change, of real growth, of not just being redeemed to heaven, but redeeming relationships. Now you're in the buyback business. Now you can buy back relationships. You can buy back, the beauty of what life can be. You can buy back joy where you never thought there could ever be a moment of joy. You can be somebody who's not just redeemed, but you are part of the redeeming process, even in your own life. But it takes an honest evaluation, and that's why Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, takes us so much deeper than the Pharisees want to keep it, because the Pharisees want to keep it external. And he says to them later on in Matthew, he says, you guys are just like whitewashed tombs. You wash the outside of the tomb, but inside is corruption, and inside is death. He says, you're like cups. You spend all your time polishing the outside, but the inside is really filthy. That's what he tells them. And so that's why he teaches, and he says, you want to focus on the outside because you can polish that and hide the inside. Put it behind the rock of a tomb. But when we get honest with God about what we need to be redeemed from, we can really become a redeemer of things in our life. Some people are really just in hopelessness. I don't think I could ever change. I don't think I could ever recover from where I've been or what I've done, or I don't even want to. Sad state. Because it's a state of anti-love. Typical expressions of anger, we'll take a look at some of them. You will definitely recognize yourself in at least one of these, and I would say probably only one of these. We tend to be one of these or not, and so on with it. So the first is the dynamite response. Now you all know what that means. It means explosive. It means that it is just going to be a big boom. It is external. It is something that is without boundary, and it can be shorter, it can be longer, but it is definitely comes external. There's no hiding from the heat of that explosion. An example of this is Cain. Now he is the older brother to Abel, and they get in sort of a thing where they bring offerings to God. One offering, Cain is bringing the work of his hands. Another offering is Abel's bringing the best of his flock of sheep. And God accepts Abel's. Cain is jealous and angry. And in the heated moment, he kills his brother. It's heat. So he kills him. Now this is the kind of thing that works with dynamite. It can happen very quickly, and it can happen in a moment. God confronted Cain later and said, what have you done? I hear the blood of your brother calling to me from the ground. More or less, I know what you've done. It's not hidden. Sometimes we justify this because at least I got the anger out, as if somehow that creates an innocence. Dynamite, an example is Cain. It says Cain became furious and he scowled in anger, and while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Now, you'd say, well, I have not done this. Well, maybe a little example that kind of works. Have you ever yelled at your phone? I found myself yelling at my phone this morning. I'm teaching on this today. And I'm yelling at my phone. I'm trying to quote, and this thing's not performing the way I think it should perform. Now, as I'm doing that and I'm yelling at my phone replies, recalculating rage levels. No, it didn't, but it should have. It should have. I know some of you get really mad playing video games. Have you ever got mad at the controller for the video game? By the way, it's your fingers there. One guy was talking about this. He said, I got really mad at the controller playing video games, and the controller called for backup. It's rage. It's in the moment. This is a form of anger that is mostly, we would say, recognized by people because it is so out there. But when it comes to this kind of anger, it is the kind that can be very destructive very quickly. And it'll say things that it always needs to apologize for later. It'll do things that when all of a sudden things cool down a little bit will be great regrets. And seeking to instead to repair, and this is the basis of a lot of assault cycles, abuse cycles, is because it just comes out. And then comes the apology season. But the risk remains. Because anger is still there. Silence example. Now these people really think they're really good at this. Silence. You know what silence is? You just go silent. You don't talk for 3 days. You just pull back. You find a comfortable little zone, and as you pull back, you've got this going on inside of you, and you use usually this excuse, well, I'm just taking time to cool down. No, you're taking time to disconnect and make them pay. Silence. It's a very aggressive form, because it actually it goes longer. An example of this is Jeremiah. This is anger. Silence is the anger you swallow. You swallow it. It is, we know from medical studies, this form of anger is the most destructive to your physical health. It's going to work inside. And you're going to stay all tensed, and you're going to have this affecting you in all of your function, biologically speaking. And so this is the anger that you swallow. Jeremiah said, I stayed by myself and was filled with anger. And then he asked questions. Why do I keep on suffering? Why are my wounds incurable? Why won't they heal? Well, I stayed by myself and was filled with anger. Silence. Your own little zone. And then what happens is it really destroys us. And it starts to eat us up in ways you don't even recognize. And you practice this long enough in your life, and I guarantee you that you will start to pay a price. You will pay a price for that. Then there's the martyr example. Martyr. Have you ever played the martyr role? The idea of poor me, poor me. It always happens to me. Why does it always happen to me? What, are you against me? Martyr, martyr. As if I'm being treated differently than everybody else, and that somehow it's always going to end up on my doorstep. And the martyr is, I don't deserve this. Why am I not being treated better? Well, the example of this form of anger is the prodigal's brother. His elder brother. It says the elder brother was so angry he would not go into the party. So his father went out and pleaded with him. So you know the story of the prodigal, right? So he takes a good chunk of the wealth from the farm that he is supposed to get upon the father's final blessings. And instead he asks for it ahead, and he goes wasted. He leaves. He goes to a far country. He wastes it all. And he comes back because he got nothing. And he has to come back to the father. But it says he comes to his senses. You know, it's that kind of what you sometimes pray for people in your family, you know, maybe yourself too. You come to your senses, and one morning you wake up and say, what am I doing? Well, that's what this prodigal was doing. So he comes back with a very repentant, confession-based attitude. And he wants to say, you know, Dad, just make me a servant. At least I get, you know, something over my head, and I get food, and I get all the good stuff. I'll just be a servant. I know I'm not worthy of a son. No, you see, he never understood the problem, never understood redemption. Father says, no way you could ever be a servant. Don't you understand? You're my son. There's no way you could ever be this. Oh, but the older brother was more than willing for him to be the servant. He would have loved to have him working under him. He would have, yeah, come home, but you don't get anything. In fact, you'll be a slave under me. That is somebody who feels like they're the martyr, the older brother. He wouldn't even go into the party. His dad didn't even know whether that son was dead or alive. When he saw him, he's just gracious, restores him in every way, falls on his neck, receives him home. There is no even storyline given yet. And all you got is a reaction from the heart of a father in grace, and that's how God is towards you, just so you know. Man, he's fallen on your neck with kisses. He has sent his son to die for your sin. He has provided eternity for you. He has a place prepared in heaven for you. And all you need is Jesus Christ in your life to forgive you for your sin, clean your slate, and you got righteousness, not some innocence that you're trying to preserve. So this elder brother wouldn't come in. He was so angry, would not go into the party. Now that is roka. That is fool. That's who that younger brother was to him. No value. No sense of value. You've lost it all. You've wasted it. You've made horrible decisions. Well, you know, the funny thing is everybody can be in that category at some time. But this older brother couldn't see beyond his own martyrdom, that somehow he didn't get a party with his friends. This brother doesn't deserve it. So his father goes out and pleads with him. Your brother was dead, he's alive. Are you kidding me? Come on in. If we're ever going to kill a fatted calf and have a party, is this not the time? Not for the martyr. The martyr is, he's getting what I deserve. And he doesn't deserve it. It's almost like they want to put you on a payment plan, everybody around him, because you're not treating you right. Well, I got something for you. In this world, you won't be treated right, and Jesus promised you that. In fact, even through living for Jesus, you will actually be treated worse. Martyrdom is a deep form of self-centeredness. It protects an anger, and it feeds an anger just every day. It's something every day that is just going to stir up within you fresh anger. Then there's a manipulator. Manipulation is a very aggressive form because it can become an art. The example is the Pharisees. They were huge manipulators. It says in Luke 6:11, but they were furious and began to plot with each other what they might do to Jesus. So now they're seeing Jesus' popularity, they're seeing that and their own going down, and their response is they're furious. So what do they do with their fury? Well, they literally just become plotters. They begin to manipulate. How do we manipulate this? How do we get him into a place where, we get rid of him? And you say, they would do that? Do you remember the story of Joseph and his brothers? They sold him into slavery. They manipulated a situation and they didn't share it with their father. They said he was killed out by a wild animal, and they dipped his special coat in blood and took it back to the father. They manipulated the whole thing. Anger. Same category as murder. No self-worth. Steal their self-worth. So let's talk about, what do you do? What do we all do? Every one of us. When this command, if it's broken down into the internal dynamics of how the clock is turning in us and what direction, is north and south, and we're starting to see that, what? I've had way too many days of this kind of anger. It doesn't come down to worry about whether it's a dynamite, silence, martyr, or manipulator. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that we recognize that this is nothing but destruction for us and for them. That this is something that eats away at you. It'll affect your everything from your biology right through to the joy of the very essence of life. Angry people don't treasure their own life. And the deeper that anger goes, the more that devaluing can take place. So what's the way back? How do you get in control of that kind of anger, and what do you do? Well, the Bible says if you cannot control your anger, you are as hopeless as a city without walls, open to attack. Gives you a picture. So the Bible gives you a picture, and it says, look, if you can't control anger, you're as hopeless as a city without walls. More or less, you're making yourself wide open to attack, and you will be attacked. The Bible talks about this in the New Testament. It says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. If you do, by the way, that's great for us as married couples too. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, because if you do, it begins to morph and change you immediately. And it does something spiritually. It says it gives a foothold to the devil, it says in that particular portion. You're giving him a foothold. What is he going to do with it? Well, he doesn't let anger stay anger. He takes it to rebellion, to resentment, and he takes it to bitterness. Very self-destructive things, and destructive to everybody else. His game plan is, I can use whatever you give me. When does he get possession of your anger? Tomorrow. If you have it tomorrow, you think you have possession of your anger? You do not. It's already morphing. That's how powerful this emotion is. So what do? Do we just try and live a life that you don't have anger? No, there is appropriate anger. An appropriate anger has a righteousness about it that you get angry. I hope you get angry about kids that are treated wrong in this world. I hope you get angry about things that really cause a lot of injustice in this world. I hope that you get angry. I hope that you get angry when you see people that are in self-destructive states, and there's an anger that can grip you, but it's also mixed with a love. Why you're angry is because you love. That's righteous. People wonder what makes anger righteous. It's because I love. That makes me angry. Now, let's be honest. That form exists, and it's the form that Jesus used. Jesus got angry. Do you know God gets angry? It's because he loves. People wonder, does God get angry at what I do? Only because he loves you first. And so he's always looking at redeeming. And he hates when there is destructive things that are holding our life hostage. And he wants you to grow beyond those. He wants your redeeming process to be daily redemptions. So yeah, he's not happy when we are not making choices that grow us and bring glory to him. It's not about Jesus being happy. It's about Jesus looking at you and loving you. That's where you bank it. I don't know a parent that loves, that's happy with everything their kid does. I do know parents that are heartbroken because of what their kids do. And why are they heartbroken? Because they love. But if it's because of pride, well, that's not righteous anger. Oh, they're a bad reflection on me. That's not how Jesus is with you. Love is the only basis to make anger righteous. So let's talk about this. How do you get yourself under control when it comes to anger, and you're not carrying it from day to day, and it's not morphing into a bunch of really bad things in your life and causing a lot of upheaval and brokenness? Well, number one, learn to love yourself. That sounds strange. Learn to love yourself. But Matthew 22:39 says this: love your neighbor as yourself. He's not saying love yourself in a selfish thing and put yourself above everybody else. He's saying understand your value and love that you're created and you have value. Love yourself. Because God saw it in his wisdom to create you. He saw it in his wisdom to send his son to save you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So learn to love yourself. Sometimes the worst forms of anger and destructive is going at you. And that's when the enemy really loves it. Because he can destroy you with the very anger that you've protected, and it's morphed out into even things within you. How many would like to be the prodigal son's brother in that regard? And you are owned for the rest of your life by being angry as a martyr. He doesn't have love for himself. He has self-centeredness. Those are not the same thing. Love for self, it's a healthy love, is a love that is not putting you above another. It is not you in any way, treasuring yourself more than another. That's why he says you love your neighbor as yourself. This is the world that you can live in, that you have a love that is giving value even when the life is not giving value. It's hard to do. Second, admit your anger. Admit is a very difficult process about anything in life, but all the commands in the Old Testament and the commands as Jesus then took them deeper into the real you on the inside. He says there's very important to admit your anger. The scriptures speak about this over and over again. Job 7:11, Job, who you would think this guy had every justification. And he's saying, I can't be quiet. I am angry and bitter. I have to speak. That was actually healthy. Because he's admitting. I mean, he's lost his family. He's lost every economical advantage he had. He's lost his personal health. He has lost friends. And he's saying, hey, here's where I'm at. I can't be quiet. I'm angry and bitter. I have to speak. Please be like Job. Because the longer you deny you are, you're trying to protect an innocence rather than live out of a righteousness. As if somehow in pride, I won't be fazed by this. I'll just keep that anger inside. Nobody's going to see that. That doesn't define well for me. Oh, be a Job. And you have that kind of conversation with God, and you admit, and you say, I can't be quiet. I am angry and bitter. I have to speak. God, I am angry. I am bitter. Just that is the beginning of redemption. Don't you see? God can work with that. That's the whole deal. He can buy it back. You've given him something to buy back. You've given him something to buy back. Do that. You do that in a marriage, it can be wonderful. If you have the kind of appropriate controls in place and you share properly with each other. Anger, this makes me angry. You can redeem each other, but if you hide, it will slowly turn into resentment and bitterness that will have put margins all around that relationship. And you say, does that mean I have to be honest? Yes. Third, look for the reasons behind your anger. Proverbs 19, 11, and it says, a man's wisdom gives him patience, or gives him patience. It is his glory to overlook an offense. I think it's really the best thing you can do when you see anger gripping you, is to do this kind of, what is getting to me here? What's the reason? What am I really... Did you have a bad day? Or you seem off. Are you okay? Are you angry? No, I'm not angry. Did something happen today? Because you're just not yourself. I'm fine. You seem sad. Like, why are you sad? You're usually bouncy, and you're kind of giving me really cold things here. Did I do something? No. What's behind your anger? Because that's where the redemption is. A man's wisdom gives him patience. It is his glory to overlook an offense. Get to the place where you grow that you can overlook offenses because you have done an understanding of how you work with anger. You see where you go. You watch your trail. I went there. Why did I treat her that way? That anger had nothing to do with her. It had to do with this, but I couldn't even talk to her. Why did I treat him that way? Why did I move away? Why did I do that? Move away from his presence and not stay in there and just be gentle. Why did I have to? It is his glory to overlook an offense. Grow. Deal with your anger next immediately. Immediately in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. Now, let's be very, very positive here. In your anger, do not sin. So what does that tell you? There's a sin to anger, to one form of anger, and then there's a sin that's not, or an anger that's not sin. So anger is not all sin. In fact, most of the anger that you might have might be actually really quite redemptive if you understand love as its base. And you make sure that you have grown to the degree that when you parent, for instance, the Bible teaches us, you don't abuse your kid. You don't do this kind of stuff. What you do is you love and you bring them into discipline. But the discipline, there's always the idea of them learning and growing. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Ecclesiastes 7:9 says, keep your temper under control. It is foolish to harbor a grudge. 5, stop and think before you speak. Whew. That's a tough one. Because when I get angry, I got to get out of here. I got to go find that little silent zone. When I get angry, it's hard to stop that explosion. When I get angry, I immediately go into how to get revenge on this. When I get angry, I find that I am actually just feeling like I'm a victim all the time. Why am I always having to have to? Stop and think. Look at this formula, James 1:19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That is a formula. It's got to be kept in that order. So you go quick to listen. There's 2 ways to listen. You can listen with these, but you can also listen with the ears of your heart. Quick to listen. I want to know more. I want to probe. Man, this conversation, where's it going? I want to know, what's going on in here. I want to figure this out. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to speak. That doesn't say don't speak. It says just slow to. More or less it comes second. Quick to listen. Going to be slower to speak and slow to become angry. We turn that around a lot and we just become quick to become angry, slow to listen, and quick to speak. That's exactly the opposite. Except you're not innocent. Reach to redemption and say, oh God, be a Job. Number 6, continually ask God to fill you with His Spirit. Galatians 5:22 and 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, goodness, temperance, faith. What does it mean to be filled with the Spirit? He compares it, just before he's talking about, don't be drunk with wine. He's talking about drunk with wine. He's saying, don't go to be drunk with wine in excess like this. He's saying, don't do that. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. Well, it's easy to actually point out, because if we take those 2 things, we can understand what he's saying here. He's saying, when you get drunk, you're under the influence of the wine. Whatever that wine might be. There's different forms, isn't there? You're under the influence of that. So it's about being under the influence of it. He's saying, don't be under the influence of that. Rather, be under the influence of the Spirit. Be filled with the Spirit, because it's going to bring you love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, meekness, goodness, temperance, and faith. So he says, you be filled with that. And the results is fruit that builds. You're not just being redeemed. You are now in the redeeming business. You are taking broken things of life that you've experienced, and you are putting them into redeeming that others have gone through, and now you're part of redeeming them by bringing them grace. You can be a Paul who has done some of the worst things, and yet God uses you to redeem many, 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 many people, and it's still happening. Why? Because he wasn't trying to use life to recover innocence all the time. He understood redemption. I need to be redeemed. So what are you under the influence of? And I would say, today. Where in your life are you drawn to a different form of influence to escape? Rather than be under the influence of something that brings you incredible things. And thereby, anger has a greater sense of being righteous because you retain love, joy, peace under his influence. You say, how is that possible when the heat is there? Well, it's possible not because you're going to get it right every time. It's possible because if you understand how to move towards truth, you want to make sure that when you find yourself slipping, you gain your feet and you start moving forward. So when anger comes, don't let it wait till the next day. So when you find that you've moved the wrong way, understand you must not be protecting innocence. Rather, admit it and own it. And then through that process, grow. And you will find that the influence of being filled with God's Spirit will grow in your life. And you will have the ability to bring those same things that he brings to you, to your world. In this world, this is the number one issue outside of not putting God first. Is anger, violence, whether it is accomplished outside or done inside. And violence is always a diminishment when it is unrighteous, when it is something coming out of just you. Don't do violence. Grow. Grow. Would you bow your heads with me, please? You know, when it comes to a church even, one thing the enemy wants to do is get you mad with each other. When it comes to a home, he wants you to be mad with each other. Now, why does he use that tool? And why does he does it, and why does he do that? Because the moment that you are mad at each other is the moment that redemption is not happening. The family quits redeeming itself. The church gets lost in the struggles between personalities, and I don't like that group, and they don't like me, and it's just the most against the nature of Christ. So I want to counsel you in this prayer that we're going to have. Quit trying to protect an innocence that was lost a long time ago. And be instead like a Job, honest with God about the condition of the interior. Own it so that it might be redeemed. Own it and give it to him. So this is going to be an own it and give it to him kind of prayer to finish off. You might want to borrow this. Father, most of us, and I am at the front of the list, have spent too many days, too many moments in just the wrong forms of anger. And we've excused ourselves because we didn't kill anybody. We didn't murder them. Lord, you always speak to the parts of us people can't see. And today you've done that. And there are many of us in this room, Lord, that want to be redeemed and continual redemption so that, Lord, these things do not destroy us or people or things that are of value like that through us. Lord, I pray for forgiveness from breaking this command. And I pray, oh God, that you will put me fully under that influence of the Spirit, because I need love and I need joy and I need peace and I need patience and I need gentleness and I need all of those, Lord. But not only do I need them, I'm tired of giving everybody the wrong fruit. I want to give good things to others. I don't want that to be consistent. I don't want to play any of the roles, the dynamite, silence, martyr, manipulator. I just want to be clean. So clean me on this, Lord. Redeem me on this. And I pray in your name that you will now, Lord, with a clean slate, give me the power to live from the inside out this command. And I will give value. If you're here and you've never received Christ as your Savior, you may know enough right now. In fact, you don't even need to know enough. You just need to have a simple faith that's willing to receive the grace of God through the cross of Jesus Christ. He died for your sin, past, present, future. And you can just receive that right now, and you'd simply say, God, I receive Jesus, your Son, as my Lord and Savior. My Lord, to be the CEO of my life. My Savior, to save me, redeem me. And I receive this grace, and I accept Christ as the Lord and Savior. Amen.
Thanks for listening. If you find this program helpful or would like to learn more, please give us a call, 780-539-0572, or email mail@peopleschurchgp.com.